Nauja Lietuva Amerika serija, Tiesiai iš Valensijos, kurį įrašėme ją per patį Europos liaudies partijos kongresą. Šįkart pas mus svečiuose Jurgenas Hardtas, ilgametis Vokietijos Bundestago narys, CDU užsienio politikos vedlias ir žmogus, kurio tikėjimas transatlantinė draugystė labai kai ką primena. Ogi galbūt net tą patį mūsų žygį paviljonį. Ši serija įrašyta likus vos savaitę iki Friedrichui Merzui tampant naujoji Vokietijos kancleriu. O tema labai paprasta. Kas laukia Vokietijos, Europos ir mūsų visų, kai laisvojo pasaulio fakelą perims Merzas? Čia šiltas, vertybinis, tikras pokalbis, tik dėja trumpas. Bet gero klausimo.
Okay, Jürgen, I know you for decades, but yesterday in Valencia in the CPT Congress, I think it was not only a moment for Europe, but it was a German moment. When Merz started to speak, electricity was like 100%, though before we had a blackout, but he brought that electricity back. Everybody was standing, everybody was applauding. It was like, well, not to provoke, of course, Americans too much, but like Kaja Kallas said, we need another leader. I think we not only had another leader, we had a world leader. First time ever from Berlin.
And before, if I could complete more what Giga said, I mean, you could really tell how important Merz was. I mean, Weber and von der Leyen couldn't even compare to how much people were really waiting for Merz, listening to him attentively. You could really tell that this is the future of Europe.
These are high expectations on Friedrich Merz, and also, by the way, on Johann David Barth, who is a new foreign minister, potentially foreign minister from next week on, that I worked very close with, and I think he always traveled several times to Lithuania, and is familiar with the situation there. The expectations are very high. I was participating in some meetings of Friedrich Merz together with some heads of state from European Union and other countries on the Munich Security Conference, and it was clear whether it was a conservative prime minister or a social democratic prime minister, they all expect to have a stronger role of Germany on the international arena. And the first is that we should present the German politics as a common project of both all the three parties in the new government, and not bringing the confrontation within the government into international arena. And this is the first we have to do. The second is that we need a clear European approach in security issues and in trade issues. These are the most important topics we have to deal on the transatlantic level and also global-wise. And we have to concentrate on that. And I expect that Friedrich Merz will have a clear position on those two topics. And with for trade especially, we need European Union as a leverage, because trade is a single market authority. But concerning security, all people expect a stronger role of Germany for the Deutsche Bundeswehr, as we do in Lithuania, by the way, maybe also in other countries taking over a more significant leadership in military and defense questions. And Friedrich Merz has the challenge that he needs to be prepared for the summits of NATO end of June, for the summit of G7 also in June in Ottawa or Canada, and third for the routine June the summit of the European Union. And we don't have a budget yet for 25, and we will not have a budget for 25 up to June. This is due to the German legal circumstance. It's very difficult to make a budget up to June, and therefore he has to deliver some answers on some questions, how much for defense, for example, without having a budget. And therefore, my advice is that we probably take a resolution of the Deutsche Bundestag to back up the Chancellor for those three summits.
But there is an ambition of the Chancellor, as I understand, to raise not only German but European defense spending. Do you think, because we always had need for the leader that would push other member states, and like in Nordic Baltic area, we are all total defense minded. Poland, but if Germany now steps into that club, you can wake up all the sleeping beauties of Europe. What do you think?
We took decisions in the Deutsche Bundestag to make sure that we are able to spend significantly more for defense, even if the 100 billion extra salary is sold out, which will happen end of next year, I think. And then we have the space and the budget due to the decisions of the whole Deutsche Bundestag changing the constitution. That for defense expenditures, we don't have a ceiling. We will not do unlogic things. We will not only stimulate inflation for military equipment, but we are able to finance everything that is necessary to make the Germany stronger. And I think we have to increase our defense capabilities up to 29, because I expect that latest in 29, Russia is much stronger on the conventional level than now, and therefore we have no time to lose, to do more. And if Germany goes ahead, other European Union member states will follow. The Baltics are already ahead of us concerning GDP percentage, but in total figures, I think 4.3 more for Germany is significantly more than 0.3 more for a smaller country. But at the end, it's all our defense capabilities, and be sure that there's a consensus in the German government to support this. I would appreciate that if also the Green parties would agree on, if not on the budget, but on some principle. This would also good backing up to know that the 2/3 of the Deutsche Bundestag, nearly 2/3 of the Deutsche Bundestag is.
Of course, something that is very important to touch on is not only national defense spending capabilities, but also building up that European defense infrastructure when it comes to being self-reliant in terms of producing our own weapons. Because naturally, and as it's been said in Germany with Merz as well, that we're not sure we can 100% rely on our historic friends on the other side of the Atlantic. We have to be able to take care of ourselves, not only in terms of national militaries, but in terms of producing our own material. So maybe you know what the plans are in Germany in terms of private sector defense contractors, etc.
We have the strong defense industry in Germany. This increasing significantly output, ammunition, but also tanks and other things. We have some lack in some products like drones, for example. We need much more drones that we are able to produce at the moment. But in generally spoken, I think European Union member states, and to add to that, I include in defense also UK and Norway into this account, because these are two very important contributors to European defense, not member of European Union, but member of NATO and closely linked to our values. And therefore, to have a more stronger and more independent and more sustainable defense production is necessary. But on the other hand, I think we also will buy a lot of military equipment by our friends from US. Be sure that this will also a message to the US president that to increase our defense expenditures, we need to ask also for equipment from US and from Israel, but also from other countries that are close to NATO, so to say. On the value side, if Germany decided, for example, to buy F-35 aircraft for the German Air Force, which is an American product, we decided to build new submarines together with Norway. At the end, military production will not be national, but a task among friends. And I also see, because we have those lack in ammunition and other things, I see also a chance to use new cooperation with other countries. For example, like India. India is very much interested in having a more equipment from Europe, Germany, but also US and France for their military armed forces. They bought very much Russian in the last decades. Now they shift more to the Western NATO member states. they now decided to buy Rafale. Probably they will decide to buy German submarines, German Norwegian submarines. Probably they will decide to buy a transport aircraft from Airbus E400M. They will be working closer together with us. And a production of ammunition, for example, is something where India can contribute to increase fastly our stocks.
My last question about two elephants in the room. You are well known for decades as number one in Germany on transatlantic links. If I'm not mistaken, you are the only from CDU to be who was invited to Trump inauguration.
It was me and my friend Thomas Silberholm from the CSU.
Yeah,
we were invited by a Republican Party, and it was on the IDU level.
At the EU level. But my question is, you mentioned 28. So in 28, Germany and we will all have to be ready. But 28, if I'm not mistaken, it's also American elections. Do you see the future of transatlantic links after everything what's happening right now? You know, deep dive into isolationism and, 19th, 20th century traditions of American foreign policy. So what about America? And more provocative question, what about China? As we see in Lithuania, China might take the role of Russia in dividing and ruling Europe. And I'm afraid of that. I see summit in Beijing. I see Chinese releasing sanctions against members of European Parliament, trying to actually, like Lenin was saying, integrate and then destroy from inside. So how do we see China and America in the future?
Yeah.
And what do we do?
I think we have four major challenges for foreign policy. It's Russian aggression, or keeping peace in Europe. The second is Iraq, and it's in the spoiler role in the Middle East, and not against Israel, not only against Israel, but also against all the positive development in the region. It's the transatlantic relation, which is under survey, so to say, maybe from the White House, and it's the challenge of China. And all those four topics need to be on the priority of the German government. From Jürgen Hardt, who will be the next foreign minister, and from Friedricho Merzo exchange. And we have to concentrate on those four topics. And I see a chance that we can stabilize transatlantic relations, because I know that a lot of politicians in US from both parties are highly concerned about the results of that what Trump decided in the last 100 days. Looking to the role of America in the world, that we should just have to see that the dollar dropped by 10% compared to euro. This is an alarming signal for a state that has a state deficit of about 110 or 120% compared to the budget. If you are not able to finance it by the high value of dollar, and dollar as an international reserve currency, this is a high risk. They have an increasing inflation now already without the result of the tariffs, because the tariffs not yet are visible in the prices. It will be in the next month. Therefore, I expect high inflation, less production, less consume in US, and a weaker dollar. And this will lead to a situation where Congress says to the president, we have to make some regulation, some law that restricts your capabilities to increase tariffs, to use support for Ukraine. But now, at the moment, it's too early to expect that confrontation between Parliament and the President, because the President would mention, if a Parliament now would jump in, he would mention, they hindered me to make good politics as my vote house story. I think it needs to be more visible for all, and it starts to be visible that the politics of Trump is very, very difficult, not only for us, maybe for US. And a weak US, that we have the controversy about the trends in Europe and about trade between Europe and US, which harms us a lot. But the biggest harming of the biggest negative result of the politics of Trump is for US. And we have not an interest in the weak US. We need a strong US. only a strong US could support us, only a strong US military-wise, only a strong US can be a good trade partner. And therefore we have an interest in not weakening US. And this is how we have to handle the camps up to the next midterm elections, 1.5 years of challenge, and then we will see.
Needless to say, in the meantime, we in Europe are looking with hopeful eyes to Germany. Again, my favorite thing that I heard yesterday, from the audience during Matt's speech, was that Germany is back. We are very happy about this. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Mark, for taking the time to talk to us. And it truly was very just.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kol pasaulis dega, pažodžiui ir politiškai, susitikti su tokiais žmonėmis kaip Jurgenas Hardtas yra daugiau nei pokalbis. Tai priminimas, kad vis dėlto vakarietiškos vertybės turi turėti stuburą, ne tik kalboje, bet ir veiksmuose. Ši serija trumpa, bet, manau, tikrai naudinga. Ir iš tiesų įpertinai aktuali. Apie tai, kur suka Vokietija, ką reiškia Merzo iškilimas. Ir ką darys Europa. Klausykit, dalinkitės ir nepamirškit, niekas nenori matyti mažesnės Amerikos. Kovokim už atvirą vakarietišką didelę Ameriką. O kol laukim jo sugrįžtant, patys būkime tie, kurie atstoja JAV, kol amerikiečiai dar mokosi būti amerikiečiais. Taigi, jeigu ši serija jums patiko, prašau pasidalinkite ir parašykite komentarą. Iki sekančio.